I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you everybody for being here tonight. First I'd like to start out with a roll call.
Ron Alberico.
Here.
Greg Bickus.
Here.
Barb Boyce. Barb Delaney.
Here.
Dean Morelli.
Here.
13 Construction.
Here.
Utility Management.
Here.
Laurie Ann Schoenstedt.
All right. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of last month's meeting. Everybody should have it in their packet. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I got a motion by Barb Delaney,
Second.
second by Greg Bickus. Any questions of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. You also have the meeting, the work session minutes of March 13th. I do need a motion to approve the work session.
I'll make that motion.
I got a motion by Greg Bickus,
Second.
second by Barb Delaney. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it, thank you. Okay, approval of the executive session minutes closed at this time on September 25th, 2017. We did have our attorney look at them. He suggested that we keep them closed. So I'm going to make the motion to keep the work session minutes of February 27th closed.
Second.
I got a second by Barb Delaney. Can I have a roll call, please, on that one?
Ron Alberico.
Yes.
Greg Bickus.
Yes.
Barb Delaney.
Yes.
Dean Morelli.
Yes.
Motion
All
carries.
right. You have the bills of $41,738.49 for the month. I do need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make that
I
motion.
got a motion by Barb Delaney,
I'll second.
the second by Dean Morelli. Any questions on the bills? Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Greg Bickus.
Yes.
Barb Delaney.
Yes.
Dean Morelli.
Yes.
Ron Alberico.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. All right, any citizens wishing to address the board here tonight? Please state your name for the minutes, for the record.
My name is Delinda Herritt. I'm the president of the Fairmount Community Partnership Group. I live at 302 Riley Avenue, Lockport. Good evening, Supervisor Alberico, Township trustees, and the other water department employees and contractors. We've gathered here for the 6th month in a row. When we started coming here in October, I dreaded the idea of asking the Fairmount community to accompany me during the long, cold winter months. But we've made it to spring. I am extremely proud of those residents who have weathered this storm with me. Thank you to all the seniors who are too tired, weak, or home babysitting, but encourage me whenever I encounter them. Silly me, I thought this was going to be a sprint. Never did I imagine it would become a marathon. Nevertheless, we've sat at every meeting in this building since October. I remember having a discussion with someone who was convinced I couldn't accomplish anything with this supervisor using diplomacy. I beg to differ, as I don't think you can accomplish anything during a shouting match. I still believe reasonable people can agree to disagree on issues and still find solutions that everyone can be happy with. We disagreed on the approach to getting the question on the ballot for the unified trash services for unincorporated Lockport Township, but we are moving forward with the question at the town hall meeting next month, and we look forward to seeing our referendum on the November ballot. Our hope has always been for this board to find some commonality between yourselves and the residents of the Fairmount community. We all want to live in a peaceful, clean neighborhood. We're more alike than we are different. After spending enough time with anyone, you will likely conclude that you have more things in common than you initially thought. My new BFF is someone I didn't know a year or so ago, It's amazing how quickly you can form friendships when you at least respect the other person. I know Denise and Jessica from your offices today, and I believe we all regard one another warmly. We all pray that none of our students ever face a Parkland, Florida situation on their campuses. We all want to pull up to the pump and find that the gas prices have spiked since our last fill-up. We all hope we can continue to avoid a war with North Korea. We all hope that winter will pass without crippling our cities too much. Many of us still wish we could go down on Jefferson Street and get a jet hamburger after a movie at the Princess Mode or the Rialto. How much would you like to see another Lockport Central versus Joliet Central basketball game from the early 70s with Coach Bob Basarage at the helm? Yes, this is our history too. We shop at Aldi, Jewel, Starbucks, Aurelio, Speedway, and every other business in Lockport. Please stop discounting Fairmont's contribution to the economy of the city of Lockport. We want to pay our water bills in Fairmont, but you refuse to allow us to do even this, Supervisor Alberico. Enough. While we are slowly seeing the needle move towards justice for Fairmont, there appears to be a number of issues unresolved. Supervisor Alberico, I can't count how many times you have stated that you don't want to be in the business of running a water utility board. Of course you don't. Who wouldn't want to earn your very generous salary to oversee the General Assistance Fund, Senior Fund, Township Fund, and manage the Highway Commissioner, Tax Assessor, and Town Clerk? How sweet would it be to earn one of the highest township supervisor salaries in Will County while working 27 hours per week? You can laugh all the way to the bank. While you often state your displeasure with the task associated with managing the Water Utility Board, you had to have had a clue of what the job entailed. A member of the Alberico family sat on this board as far back as 1959 and numerous times after that for nearly 3 decades. Surely you consulted with this family member prior to accepting an appointment to the supervisor's job, which you followed by 2 consecutive runs for the position of township supervisor. Supervisor Alberico, you recently stated the $5,000 a month lawsuit repayments from our water revenue will be suspended until you know what we want to do about taking over sole responsibility of the Water Utility Board and creating a water district. We do not want to create a water district. I'm just making sure you hear me tonight, Supervisor Alberico, because you keep coming back and saying, I'm going to wait and see what you guys want to do. We do not want to create a water district. However, we are interested in having Fairmont residents sit as appointed members of the Township Water Board. How about you earn your paycheck? I'm certain the headaches associated with managing the Water Utility Board was a bargaining point to substantiate your 12% salary increase. Please proceed with making the best decision, which is to refund all monies taken to date and the monies currently being suspended until you know what we want, and place them in a fund for the future infrastructure upgrades. We aren't looking for a free ride. We know we'll have to contribute monies in order to have an upgraded water and sewer system. With both the cities of Lockport and Joliet making $88 million and $214 million plans for their future infrastructure upgrades, doesn't it make sense to start conversations with both to see how Fairmont can factor into their plans? Ignoring this golden opportunity shows very little proactive movement by this supervisor and board. Let's be proactive and not reactive. Fairmont has a consistent history of paying comparable bills to both these cities' residents. The time to start thinking outside the box is now. Let's stop this back and forth and make the decisions that are in the best interest of this township and the citizens of Fairmont. The Will County Board, Will County Land Use, and the Lockport Highway Commissioner have all stepped up to the plate and given Fairmont its fair share of the pie. When will this supervisor and board of trustees follow suit? That's not to say we haven't received some favorable treatment from members of this board of trustees, because we have, and for this we thank you. It has not gone unnoticed. Just in case you are living in a bubble and haven't paid attention, there are cries for justice ringing out in Washington, D.C., Sacramento, California, and yes, we're crying out for justice inside the humble walls of this township. Hashtag Justice for Fairmont. We brought the following issues to your attention on numerous occasions at these water department meetings. Despite our expressed interest, you have avoided adding these issues to your agenda. We are publicly requesting an opportunity to discuss these issues at next month's meeting. Any lawyer for this water and sewer system is being paid from funds generated by Fairmont residents, and therefore he should be able to explain to us, his paying clients, why he thinks we are responsible for the lawsuit repayment. And I have put together a list. I'd like to give it to all of you. We don't want to keep coming up here and listening to you go through your agenda and pay bills. We want to come up here and talk about the things that are really important to us. Is it okay if I approach with my list? This is what we'd like to see discussed next month. And thank you all for your time.
All right, anybody else wishing to address the board here tonight?
Good evening. Terry Broadhurst, 2123 Arthur Avenue. A couple things I wanted to address tonight. Based on last month's meeting, there was a couple things that were addressed directly to me, and towards the end of the meeting, I wasn't able to respond to. I would like to just clarify a couple things. What was directly mentioned to me was about the work that was done in the past on different items and parts of our water. And of course, I took it with stride. I wanted to go out and examine these generators and pump stations and see this brand new work that I talked about not so long back. But what I found, one pump station sliding down a hill, fence is just about to slide along with it. The electric to that station is in plastic pipe running about 40, 50 feet to a telephone pole on top of the ground. Now that's the one closest to our neighborhood, Fairmont and 171. Of course, the one over there on Lawrence Street was in a lot better shape, but it's on level ground, which gives it the advantage. So I don't know which one you guys changed out, but I can only imagine how much you paid for it, and how little oversight there was on the project. That's the first thing I wanted to address. The second thing I wanted to address tonight was a question for 13 Construction. As I've been going through and traveling the streets, watching the work being done, I noticed some work being done today, and I thought, God, I thought I remember seeing that in the contract, of which was his responsibilities. Because if you remember back in May when I started this fight, we talked about how much money we were spending on this labor force that was virtually doing no work. So I got the contracts, filed for Freedom of Information Act, got the contracts, went through the list of work. I find that his list of work is identical to Larry's list of work, so it's like they kind of just used the same contract and just switched the money. So the money went from 17,755. They split that evenly. Larry takes 7,000 and Chris takes the 10,755. One time they claimed they never even knew each other. Going back to the contract, though, I remember seeing in that contract that I was astonished that we were paying this guy almost $11,000 to vacuum out and locate and clean out bee boxes. I thought, boy, that's pretty excessive, along with shutting off some waters here and there. I mean, we don't have that many shut-offs. Tried to get that information. It wasn't that easy to find out how many per month on average. It's not that many. So I went back to the contract, and of course I was right. The contract states that it's his responsibility to have this work done, and it's in his scope of work under field. And if you go to his contract, you'll be able to find that. But today, or no, was it yesterday, one of the two, I noticed that we have a contractor out there doing this exact work. So my question to Chris tonight is Are you paying for them to do that, or are we paying for them to
Do
do
you
that?
draw water? Do you pay?
That's not the question,
No,
sir.
I'm asking you a question.
So that's not the question.
Do you buy water?
We were allowed, if I can remember
This
correctly,
is
we were given the
township
opportunity to be able
water.
to ask these questions.
When you buy water from this board, I'll answer your question. If anybody else has a question, come on up, I'll be more than happy to ask you a question.
If I may go back,
When you
if
buy
I may go
water,
back a couple meetings. Okay.
This is
If I-
for you to make a statement, it's not to answer questions. We're
But
not-
I understand it, but just to go back to the rules that you set forth, you said that we were going to be given forth the chance to ask these questions to these people in this meeting. So of course, I can get those minutes and show it to you in the next meeting, but preferably I'd like it to just be done now. Question stands. Are you paying for that location for those V-boxes, multiple V-boxes,
Stick
or are
it
you
up
charging
your
us?
ass. Stick it
I'm-
up your ass.
Don't expect the answers. Our attorney is here. We don't have to
Did you
answer
just say what I thought you said?
Yeah,
In a public meeting?
Yeah.
I rest my case. This man does not belong on this job. Thank you.
Any other citizens wishing to address the board here tonight?
Shazam. Good evening. My name is Dr. Christy Billups. I teach at Lewis and I live in Chicago. I teach theology at the university. I'm also part of the team that facilitates community-engaged learning between Lewis and various organizations and initiatives in the communities of Will County and beyond. That's how I've come to care deeply about Fairmont and its residents. I still have much to learn about the community and its residents, their many gifts and challenges. Let me be clear, my few minutes of comments this evening are reflective of my observations alone and are not meant to represent Lewis University in any official capacity. I did ask a prominent member of the Fairmont community if it would be all right if I spoke this evening, and this person invited me to share my thoughts. Let me start by saying this. Where I live in Chicago, in a relatively humble apartment on the south side, I have trash pickup, water that is safe to drink from the tap, and all of the other services I need to live a comfortable life. I also recognize that as a white, educated woman, I enjoy numerous privileges, which is absolutely important that I not take for granted. Therefore, as I sat in this room last month and watched the exchange between the residents of Fairmont and this water board, I was deeply distressed. I saw an entirely white board whose membership does not reflect Fairmont in any way. I was distressed at the lack of care offered to residents, as just demonstrated, who have clearly suffered and struggled to have their voices heard and their rights respected. I listened as, one after another, the people of the Fairmont community voiced their frustration at being told to keep their comments brief, to wait even longer for reasonable requests to be fulfilled, to be told that questions either had no answer or were just plain not going to be answered, and that the money they had been paying for clean water and the upkeep of needed infrastructure was not yet going to be used to repair any of the problems they'd been bringing to the attention of local government for a distressingly long time. I heard the fear of a young father that his young child might be adversely affected if that young one drank the water in his own home. I heard adult children of aging and infirmed parents and loved ones worrying about the difficulty of going to a store, often miles away, to buy water when clean water should be available in their own homes. If I'm not mistaken, this board is elected to address the needs, challenges, and goals of its constituents. And I heard at least one board member share his distress that the efforts that the board had made and the small steps that had been taken were not appreciated. I was glad to hear Delinda address that this evening, and I could see how that could be frustrating. But I ask you, if your child only had access to toxic water or water barely above minimally acceptable levels of safety, if your parents couldn't get their basic human rights met without major assistance, or maybe at all, might there be more urgency to your work? As Dr. King famously said, justice delayed is justice denied. You have the power and, frankly, the responsibility to make people's lives better, not to silence them because their pleas annoy you. I don't have all the answers by any stretch of the imagination, but I would like to recommend the following. There is no reason whatsoever that this board and the residents gathered here couldn't actually work together, cooperate toward the greater good. If meetings like this are going to be frustrated by strict adherence to Robert's rules and he said, she said squabbling, why not try something new? What if board members carved out the time to visit the homes and communities of Fairmont to see what they're dealing with, to grow relationships with the amazing people in this room and who were present at the last meeting, many of whom are daily making the best of a bad situation? What if some meetings were framed like conversations, where everyone understood that what is good for a child or an elderly parent is good for everyone, both in the community of Fairmont and in neighboring communities, Lockport Township itself? There should be no us and them here, but rather a collective we. You're welcome to dismiss my comments as idealistic and naive, but I believe that they may help this board to get its job done more effectively and thereby relieve Fairmont's residents of some seriously compromising challenges. Bottom line, this conversation should be about people, not about money. Sure, money is needed to get things done, but if elected officials are here to serve their constituents, and if you concur that the people in this room are representatives of your electorate, then listening empathically, working diligently, and respecting every person and story will be far more effective means of reaching a mutually beneficial end in which everyone's rights and needs are valued. It doesn't seem to be all that much to ask. Thank you for your attention and consideration.
Thank you. Any other citizens wishing to address the board here tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you for your comments.
Excuse me, Supervisor, if there's no one else in the audience who wants to ask any questions, I just have a few questions that I would like to ask. There's one thing that was brought to my attention that as a new trustee I didn't know about, so something called the Right Here store. Okay, and then one of the questions that was brought up to me was what steps have been taken about the Right Here store? Did you take the payments for the water bills? I don't know anything about this.
All right, this was discussed before you guys were on board about a year and a half ago. The gentleman that owned the Right Here store approached me about maybe taking the water bills there. I brought it to the board. The board voted not to. And I will tell you the reason at the time was they wanted to charge, I think it was $1.50 per water bill that they collect. And the currency was doing it for 50 cents. And I thought I'd keep it low so I could possibly keep it for the residents. And the other situation was they had just opened within 6 months and they asked for the water bills. The history of this board taking water bills, it's been taken at, let me see if I can get this completely right, at Porter Drug Store in Lockport for years, and they closed up. So we moved it to Corwin Drug Store, which was another well-established business that's been there for years, and they closed up. We moved it to the currency exchange in Lockport, which in the currency exchange, you think they're going to be there forever? They closed up. So we went to the currency exchange in Joliet. About the same time this gentleman asked us, and I was a little leery about putting it in a new business after I've had it in businesses that were established that closed. And the board felt the same way. And it wasn't my decision, it's the board's decision at that time not to do it. And I did have residents come to me and said they were a little afraid to enter that store.
Is that store still there?
That store is still there.
Where's the store located?
It's right on the corner of, I think, Riley and 171.
Okay, all right.
And the gentleman has talked to me just recently, and I told him just recently, I don't know where we're going with this water board at this time. If you want to approach it, approach the board and we'll talk about it again.
So you had recent discussions
About
with him?
last month.
Okay. All right.
I have no problem with him coming back to us and entertaining that idea. He is better established now. If he wants to take the water bills and the other thing, he denies it, but why would I make this up? He said he wouldn't take cash. He just wanted checks. And the whole purpose of having somebody taking our water bills is a lot of customers that want to pay cash. So it seemed not a good idea at the time. he wants to re-talk about it, I would ask him to approach this board, and this board will make that decision.
Okay, so you're not against him?
No, I'm not against anybody taking water bills, but I gotta be, somewhat relieved, careful. I hate to put it in a business that's gonna close up, and then we're stuck holding the bag again,
Okay,
you know.
all right.
We do try to make it as easy as possible. We try to make it, everybody aware that we do have a drop box right outside the door here on the north side of the building. You come around, you just drop the water bill in there. Doesn't cost you. I'm sorry, I got the floor.
Well, we're gonna put cash in there, we don't have a checking account.
We asked that you write a check.
But that's why I said, if I don't have a checking account, what do you want me to do, drop cash? And trust you?
I can't guarantee, if somebody drops cash in there, I can't guarantee it.
That's right, that's what I'm saying, everybody don't have a checking account.
Right.
But would we take money orders and cashier checks? And you can drop
Yeah,
money
drop
orders and
checks.
cashier.
I'm
Drop
gonna take
checks
my
in
money
there all the
order,
time.
or cash in check, close pay, just drop it off, that's the only one. My every dollar counts, okay? Every one of my dollar counts to leave. And pay my money.
I understand that, but for 50 cents you can mail it to us.
So I'll do pay 50 cents and I'll do it, okay?
I do pay 50 cents on all the bills that I pay by
I'm not gonna
check.
pay my 50 cents.
I don't think I'm responsible for paying you.
Well, then that's what I'm saying. I can go to his door with cash and do
Ma'am,
it.
I'm not gonna argue with you. We're trying to make it easy. Then walk up the stairs and walk up the stairs and pay it at the window. Short of me coming to your house and collecting your bill, I don't know what you want me to do. You have a drop box there. We take water bills at our office. You can mail it to us. Okay, please, I have the floor. I didn't interrupt anybody else. Please don't interrupt me.
I didn't interrupt, I just said I have a checking account.
But that's why we're not taking bills. I mean, again, if he wants to approach us, we'll entertain that idea. It'll be this board's decision. All right.
Then I just have one other, it's not really a question, it's more of a comment in regards to a question that was given to me about the concerns with if the majority of this board is satisfied with or confident with Robinson Engineering for the fixing of the infrastructure of the water mains. So back to when this first decision was made, Trustee Vickus and I were the two who voted no because, first of all, we felt we probably should have had more engineering companies reviewed, but the majority, once the majority rules, we move ahead. So, but what I did do is I did go on Robinson Engineering's website and spoke to one of the engineers that we awarded the project to, and I have documentation that I am fully confident that Robinson can do this project for us. I have a list of references from different cities and villages that they have done the work for with high acclimates for them, and a list of projects that are very similar to what we are asking them to do, dated back from 2005 to 2017. And the list from the cities and the villages that they did, I have no problem with Robinson taking on this project. So just wanted to let everyone know that I'm satisfied with having Robinson with this project. Now, I don't know if any of the other trustees wanted to add any comments.
I had comments for later on the other agenda items, but I read the report that she gathered from Robinson, and I have confidence in Robinson with their ability to complete the project, and they're a qualified bidder. So.
All right.
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify. My understanding was, so far they've been hired to just render an opinion on if we went for that loan, what would we do with it and how much should we ask for. If there is work to be done, it would go out to bid. We haven't proposed hiring them to do it.
But they are the engineering firm that we hired. We did not.
To evaluate
Correct.
whether we qualify for applying for the loan, and if so, what should we apply for and for what?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
they are the engineering firm that we did hire.
Yes.
Okay.
to evaluate, but not to do the work.
Correct.
All right, anything else? I guess maybe I should just make a comment about a few things that Ms. Delaney Delinda talked about. We are trying to work together with the Fairmont community. There's a lot of options, a lot of things have been thrown at this board in this last 4 or 5 months. We talked about creating a board. After discussing that with the board and looking at all the different possibilities, you suggested, actually Terry suggested having an election, but that's not what the law says. We have to follow the law. The law says, we appoint a committee if we were going to go that direction. We are still working under an ordinance that was put together in the 70s. I've been told by our attorneys that we still have that ordinance is still in effect. We do not come under, we're grandfathered in on the ordinance that everybody says that we have to change. That came in the 90s, 20 years after this board was established. If we establish a board, which is still a possibility if we ever go to that, the board that we would put together would really have no real authority. They would have to report to us every month, and we would still have all the authority, unless we go to a referendum, create a water district, and then they would have the teeth to run the water district the way it's supposed to, which is what you guys are saying that you want, a board that has authority. I don't have a problem putting that board together, but we do have to do it the legal way. We can't just say we're going to do it. We have to follow the law. The law says we go to a referendum, create a water district, and then we would work with that new established water district to turn all overall funding to that water district, and then your board, who you would elect from the Fairmont area, would have to be making the same decisions we're making. I think it would be better for Fairmont residents to be making this decision than this board, but we got to do it the legal way. I can't create a board and give them the authority and not have them in charge of the purse strings. We would still, at this point in time, we're forced to take this water district back in the 70s, and we are financially responsible for that board, for this water district. And as long as we're still financially responsible, we have to make the decisions. If I can turn that responsibility over to Fairmont, which I would gladly do, but we have to do it legally through the law, which would be a referendum. I have no problem with it, if that's what the Fairmont people want. And that's probably one of the best, I think one of the best ideas, because that's what I've been hearing for the last 5 months, is you want control, you want to be on this board, you want to make the decisions. This is the route to get there. To just create a board that has no real authority and has to report to us every month, it doesn't seem like a good idea to me. It's just you got a board that has no teeth and no authority and no responsibility.
Is there any opportunity for us to comment on the statement you just made?
The other thing, I know, Linda, you like to say how much I make, and I understand. I do get a stipend for being township supervisor. And I'm in this capacity with the water. I'm a chairman of the water district. I get paid $60 a month, only if I attend the meeting. That's all I get paid for being on this water board. Along with the 4 trustees, all get paid. That's all we get. So,
Poor guy's hardly making it.
I know you think I'm running to the bank, happy as a clam running to the bank, but for $60, this ain't worth it. Trust me. I'll give this up in a heartbeat. Yes. I'll give up that $60. But I'm on this board, and I made an oath when I got on this board to do what I think is best in the I'm trying to do what's best for the community of Fairmont. I know you don't think I have any feelings about Fairmont, but I was down there last year picking up garbage with you. You may remember.
I remember.
Which a lot of the citizens were. The residents of Fairmont weren't there picking up garbage, but I was. So I do have feelings for Fairmont. I know a lot of good people down there. I have a lot of respect for the people for what they've done down there. But I've been put in a place to, as the chairman, and it's not me, this board has been put in a position to run a water district the best possible way we can with the funding that we have, which is just your water bill payments. We can't have tax dollar pay for water. But you can keep those monies separate. We always have. So you do the best you can with the funding that you have. And should have the board 20 years ago planned ahead for the infrastructure? Yeah, maybe they were. But that was a decision made 20 years ago. As far as me having relatives on this board for 50s, I think you're wrong there. You may have to look up the dates again. My father was on this board just as a trustee, I think for about 8 years. I don't remember. As far as my talking to him about what the decisions on that board was made, he was dead 11 years before I even got interested in being on this board. So no, I didn't have conversations with him. That being said, that's all I have.
Is there an opportunity to comment on your
We're
first
moving
comment?
on with the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Utility management's report.
The 2017 CCR is ready to be printed, so I'll be getting it to the printer's office and then to the mailer, so it'll be probably...
Turn on those mics so we can...
It'll probably be, 4 to 6 weeks. They have to be out by July 1st.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Moving on, 13 constructions report.
No, we've been replacing some busted Buffalo boxes, 3 in the last few days, but other than that, it's been just changing meters and more than normal.
All right.
I got a couple of questions for, on the 13 construction report.
Okay.
Chris, you don't have to comment on this, I just got a couple of comments. Can you type out the reports in the future? Because I can't read the regular writing. And can you also include the time spent on each of the things that you're doing?
No, I'm not going to do that. My scope of work states out. I'm more than happy to make notes and stuff, and I'll have them typed for you, but I'm 24/7.
Okay.
365 days a year, and that's what my contract reads. And so I think
I'll
be more than happy to meet you halfway, but no, I'm not going to fill out time.
Okay. Do you have the maintenance that you performed last year? Do you have a report of all the maintenance that you performed for the last year?
I do not.
Okay. That's in your contract. If you can get that together, I'd really appreciate it. And at last meeting, we asked to get a quote on the replacing the line at Green Garden at Princeton. Was there any progress on that?
Yes, I got 3 quotes. One was from CMG. They stayed at the same number. Cox and Son stayed at, did I not give you this, Chris? I can't believe that, but Cox and Son, I called them for updated quote. And they stayed at the same number, which was like $40,000, and I can have that tomorrow morning. I can't believe this. But then I got a third quote was at like $30,000.
Okay. So do you have a scope of work that they're looking at?
Yes, I got everything. I got the proposals. I thought Chris had them, but I've got it first thing.
Okay. Thank you. And so that's pretty much I had. I'd like to, as far as the maintenance goes, if you can maybe just give us a schedule of what the schedule of maintenance is as far as when we're going to be flushing meters and things like that. so we can, we can get, so it stays on a regular schedule, with exercising valves and things like that.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right, moving on to old business. We have the approval of a $7.50 assessment fee onto the water bills for the low-income loan, I believe, for the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency that Robinson Engineering has been working on. We will make we've had these meetings, we've talked, we had workshops, we talked everywhere from 15 down to 3 to 10. I think the board is pretty happy with $7.50 at this point in time. So I will take a motion to approve the $7.50 assessment fee.
I'll make that motion.
I got a motion by Barb Delaney,
Second.
a second by Greg Pickus. Any questions?
Ron, I just had a question. It's reference, I know to fill out the loan application, you have to indicate where the income is going to come from, correct, Mark? Is that what we're talking
Correct,
about?
that is correct.
Does it state like when that has to be implicated? I mean, does that have to be already in motion? Do we have to start collecting that money prior to them?
I don't think we have to start collecting it from what I'm getting from what Robinson has indicated, but we do have to show proof of where we're getting it from.
Or where we're going to get it?
Yes,
Correct.
that is correct.
Okay. So do we know if it is approved when the starting date would be, or what, is it something we're going to ask for?
We have to put this in motion first. This is the very first step, and then Robinson will start doing their next step, so to speak, and then I'm sure they'll be getting back with us. Because remember, they said that this process, once we go ahead and decide what the assessment fee is, to prove that we are going to be getting this money for the IEPA payback, it can take 6 to 8 months to do this whole process.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So that doesn't mean that, like, starting next month, we're going to already be collecting this fee, or?
No, this, I would assume that this would be set starting next month, and then it's going to basically be a special fund that all these monies just sit there, and we just start collecting it. Because sooner or later, whether we are approved, because that's the next thing as well, we may not get approved for an EPA loan. But we're still going to be doing our due diligence to start having money set aside to start replacing pipes that are rotting away.
And I believe if we pass this tonight, I think probably the right way to do this would we create an ordinance, we'll pass an ordinance. Is that the correct? So I'll have attorney's office put the ordinance together for us, and we'll pass it next month.
Okay.
And I think that would have to specify as to when we start.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Any other questions?
Can you state the motion, exactly what the motion would be stated as?
Well, the motion is to approve a $7.50 assessment fee to be put into an ordinance fashion for next month to be approved. How's that?
Sounds good.
Be
Just want to
good.
clarify.
I think it'd be better to have an ordinance put together.
Right.
So, okay, that's the motion.
And I'll second it.
We got a motion by, I made the motion, Barb Delaney seconded. Let's have a roll call, please.
Steve Morelli,
Yes.
Ron Alberico,
Yes.
Greg Pickus,
Yes.
Barb Delaney.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, motion carries. All right, I don't think I have anything under old business. Under new business, we do have Will County land use people here today. I believe they wanted to make a small presentation. Maybe we don't.
Very small presentation.
Small presentation. Or a large presentation.
No.
And just for the record, please state your name.
My name is Ron Pullman. I'm the Community Development Director for Will County Land Use. We were asked to participate in a discussion a couple months ago with the township regarding the condition and future viability of the water system in Fairmont. To refresh everybody's memory, the Will County Board has approved a commitment, a 3-year commitment, a minimum 3-year commitment to work with what we call the Fairmont Plan. The Fairmont Plan was a plan that was approved by the County Board in 2012. It was based on a lot of input from the residents of Fairmont, and it was a multifaceted plan which addressed many, many issues. One of the issues it did not address, however, is the condition of the water system. If it did address it, I'm not sure exactly where that was because I couldn't find it. It did address items such as drainage, flooding of streets in certain residential areas. It addressed the quality of the housing stock, and it also addressed what might be considered future development, what needs to be done in the community for future development. That's what we are interested in from this point forward. Now, what we are ready to do is partner with the Fairmont residents and partner with the township, and what that also means the water board, to move forward in a very precise way to ensure that the affordability of whatever is done is reflected on your ability to continue to pay for the services. What does that really mean? It means that we're trying to make this possible by investing grant funds when available to help defray the cost of the system onto the residents. As we were told early on a couple months ago, the cost of the EPA loan is going to be put on the shoulders of the residents at a tune of $15 a month. And of course that was met with a great deal of disapproval by the residents. We understand that. I think the board understands that too. So what we're trying to do is provide assistance to bring that cost to the residents down. I think that's why we're talking about the $7.50. What format that is exactly going to look like, we're not certain. There are many, many options, many, many directions that this could go. But there's one remaining fact, or actually two. That's why we're here. The water system needs improvement if Fairmont is going to ever develop. And when I say develop, I mean new construction, new housing, new economic development, new commercial development. The entire spectrum of improvements in Fairmont are contingent on the infrastructure. That's a fact. That can't be denied. So, however, the problem is at what cost to the residents, and what cost to new developers, and what cost to anybody else. And certainly the township has a role in this. So, without really making a commitment of dollars, I think what I'm trying to say, and we have a county board member present tonight, so I cannot speak for all county board members, but I can assure you that county board is supportive of investing grant dollars in the community. And we want to partner with the township, and we want to continue our investment. We've been doing this I've been doing this since 1982. It's about time I retired. But I want to see this through. So, in that 30 or 40 years that I've been involved, we have visited Fairmont many, many times. We've helped with the water system. We've helped with infrastructure and a great deal of other investments. We know that this is a continued problem. What we're looking for this time around, though, is a little bit more, paying a little bit more attention to the future and assuring ourselves, the county board, and the residents of Fairmont, that whatever system is put in place is going to be maintained properly. And it's going to be maintained as viable and affordable as possible. There's no question it's going to cost money for the residents. I don't think you're doubting that either. But what we want to partner with the township and the EPA to assure everybody that this is going to be a financially feasible and viable system from this point forward. There's a lot of work to be done. This is not an easy situation. But I think I'm here to say that we're going to be in here for the long term, as long as we can, and as long as the federal funds remain. We have a lot of opportunities to move forward from this, and we have the ability to do some creative things with our federal dollars. Infrastructure happens to be one of those creative things. We can also, given the right set of circumstances and the right assurances through agreements with the township, we could basically double and triple our grant money in a given year. Actually, we could, if we got the county board to approve it, we could borrow ourselves through the grant program $7 million. However, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we're not willing to gamble on. But it's an allowable activity under the grant program that we currently have. So we have not made any presentation, no promises to anybody. But I just want to let you know that this is the type of money that we might have available to continue our effort to support the Fairmont community. This is eligible under the current federal administration. We're not certain how long it's going to be eligible, but I can tell you this, the quicker we move, the faster we can get this project, not only the water line, but other projects as well online. So we're willing to partner with the local government, given as long as we feel comfortable with the product and make sure that the product is ultimately affordable to the residents. This program that I'm talking about, the block grant program, is primarily geared to benefit low and moderate income neighborhoods, period. And that's what we do. So that's why we're invested in this project. And that's not going to change. So we want to move as quickly as possible, and we want to give as much support to the township as we possibly can. And regardless of what form this may take, if it goes into a referendum, if it goes in any direction, I think the essential issue that we have to address is the quality of the system and the future development of Fairmont. Those two things aren't going to change. And of course, the affordability to the community. So I think I can say fairly that the county board is willing to stand by you, but of course, they're going to put pressure on us as the administrators of the program to make sure that we're making the right investment and the smart investment to guarantee that what you get is what you need and what you want. So that's really all I'm prepared to say at this time. I know some of you from the partnership, we've been involved with many, many things, and there are a lot of good things that are going on in Fairmont. And we're really happy to see a lot of involvement. I'm happy to see the people here tonight supporting their community. I mean, I can remember having meetings at the partnership when there was a handful of people here. But I'm here to tell you that we're going to support the Fairmont community as much as we can for as long as we can. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right. Well, that's going to be a wonderful thing if we could partner up. We've been talking about it, we've had these talks. I know you don't think we've been doing anything, but we have been trying to get things done here, believe me. Moving on to the chairman's report, we do have the payment of the $5,000 that we will hold into an account for either to be decided on whether it'll go into infrastructure or what we will do with it. So I would entertain a motion for the $5,000 to be put aside.
I'll make that motion.
I got a motion by Barb Delaney.
Second.
Second by Dean Morelli. Can I have a roll call, please?
Greg Pickett?
Yes.
Barbara Delaney?
Yes.
Steve Morelli?
Yes.
Ron Albrecht?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. I just want to let everybody know we did have that workshop that we approved the minutes for. We did put together our budget for next year. This year we're going to do it different than we've ever done before. Before we just passed it at our next meeting, but we are going to do our due diligence and put it on display for 30 days. It'll be in the clerk's office for 30 days. And I think in our May meeting, we'll have a little public hearing for the public to discuss it, and then we will pass it in our May meeting. That being said, the only other thing I have tonight is I put it in everybody's packet. The Herald News had an article on Lockport, city of Lockport. I'm not going to read the whole article, but it pretty much is telling everybody that their rates are going up. They're putting a 7-cent, well, that's the tax on the diesel, but they're also putting $1.50, increasing the surcharge that they already pay, another $1.50 to $7.50, from $7.50 to $9. So their surcharge is $9 for their water. And I believe that's for the sewer, I think, and the water is going up to $4.50. So they're paying a lot of money. Also, it's not, I don't want you to think that we're the only ones having issues with our water. Actually, I have on my phone an app that Lockport texts me every time there's a water main break. They're having water main breaks a lot more than we are. I know they have a lot more water main, but our water district is, I don't believe it's in as dire need as what everybody, what we're saying. It needs to be fixed. It's 45 years old on the ground. There are issues. I think we're being proactive. I'm very proud of this board of being proactive, but it's not like the sky is falling. It's not our water district isn't as bad as everybody thinks it is. So yeah, Lockport's increasing their rates. They've also talked to us. I believe I have in there an ordinance from 2000. I'm not even sure what this ordinance was. This is an ordinance from Lockport 09015 that pretty much said the city of Lockport is given the township of Lockport sewer and water 15% discount on the treatment of the sewage. They've been doing that all these years. I believe they're going to take that away. So our bill for the water treatment in Lockport is going to go up 15%. Nothing we can do about that. They've been, they're nice enough. They gave it to us all these years, but now they're saying they're having water issues. They can't afford to be giving us that discount. I'm going to put it off. I've talked to a couple of people over there. I'm hoping to stall that for a year. I don't know if I can. It's up to their trustee or their alderman to make that final decision. But So we are up against a lot of people asking for more money on this, from this water. Between the city of Joliet and the city of Lockport. We have to pay our bills. So that's all I really have to say. Is there any other questions here tonight from the board?
Ron, I was just going to make a comment if I could. I know everybody's been here a while and want to get out, but, you know, I started digging a little bit because I keep asking myself, you know, how did we get to this point where it's almost confrontational with the residents against this board? And, you know, I can only add that, you know, a couple of the members only been here less than a year. But it has gotten to a point where I just don't understand. So I started digging through the past history of this whole water system. You know, when did this start and how did it get so bad? And like I said, from the early 74 when the federal government came in and installed the system, whether or not it was a good idea or not, I don't know how the people in Fairmont felt about that. They were getting a nice water system from the federal government, but now they were going to have to pay a water and sewer bill, which they didn't have to pay before. So I don't know if any of you were there from the beginning, how you felt about that, but it happened. The federal government put in a system. The township had no access to water or no access to sewage treatment. It was coming from the city of Lockport and the city of Joliet. And at one point, these were supposed to take over the system. They did not want to take it at that time for whatever reason. I can't answer that. You know, it was 74. Lockport didn't want to have a hand in it. Joliet didn't want a hand in it. So the township gets it, and the township has no history of any kind of public works department or anything, but now they're forced to take over the system. So you move on to 10 years, 1985, I pulled Corp records where the system is already behind money paying Lockport, behind money paying Joliet for the water and the sewer. To the point where, at some point, Joliet City takes the township to court. In 1990, you could pull it up on the circuit clerk. Joliet City takes the township to court in 1990 for $500,000. So whether or not the township was charging enough on the water bills, or whatever the case may be, if it was misfunding or whatever, but it got to this point. So, you know, like I said, it's nothing that's happened overnight, and I feel bad that it's gotten to this point where it has gotten into a confrontation almost. And because like I said, I mean, I feel that the board is trying to make strides to move forward, whether or not a sanitary district is the right way to go, whether or not you would rather see another water company come in like American Water or Aqua Water, something like that, or if we can work together and get through this. I don't know, you know, it sure sounds like we're going to have problems doing that. I hope we can. Like Ron says, most other towns or villages already charge surcharges on their bills. You know, the people, how are we going to get this money? You know, yeah, it would be great if we get grant money from the federal government, county jumps in, that would be great to alleviate, you know, some of the funds, but I mean, I feel the people from Fairmont are going to have to pay a little bit, you know, I mean, it's their system, you know, who else do you expect to pay for it, you know what I mean? We can do and try to get as much money as we can from outside agencies, but I know it's not a pleasant thing, but, you know, the money's got to come from somewhere, so that's all I got to say, Ron.
All right, thank you.
I got one additional comment. You know, I know a lot of you who've been coming here have wondered what the results are. And right now we're at a point where there's going to be three different options. Either the Lockport Township is going to manage the board, whether we set up an advisory board or not, to help us with doing a little bit more research on who we hire, what we hire, and how we manage the system. But they will not have, if Fairmont District doesn't create their own utility board, Lockport Township is going to be the board that makes the decisions on how the money is spent, and they're going to be responsible for it, because ultimately any decisions that are made, if they're wrong decisions, it's going to come back to the township, and the township is responsible. So if Fairmont takes it over, then that utility board will be responsible for its own decisions, and it will have nothing to do with the township. If another company comes in, which would probably be the worst outcome for the Fairmont residents, if another company comes in and wants to buy this system, I know people in Homer Glen are having nightmares with their water system and their water bills right now. It's been going all over Facebook that I've seen a lot of comments that they're really not happy with the American Water running their system. Outside systems, outside companies are in this to make a profit. So the Fairmont residents, if you give us our input on that, those are pretty much the three decisions. So I'm trying to sum it up into a smaller, just to summarize things so that we're all on the same page of what the future is of the Fairmont Water District. And I know, I'm probably not the biggest fan of Mr. Alberico in the way that the water board's run, but he did sum it up pretty well the way things need to go. I think the best that either we've got to do something to create a Fairmont Water Board, or make sure we keep it in-house. So that's all I have to say.
You're not my biggest fan? Right in my heart. All right. Anybody else? All right, then I would call for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Barb Delaney.
Second.
Second by Dean Morelli. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much, everybody.